Welcome back to Mages and Murderdads, the best show dedicated to the games beyond Baldur's Gate. This is episode 47, and we're playing Planescape Torment.
Still, we're on it. We're on that Planescape train.
We are. We're taking baby steps, I would say.
I think we're taking, as it's known, our sweet time.
Our sweet time. I'm Cameron, and I play the Nameless One.
And I am Danny, and I play the Nameless One.
Oh, golly. And yeah, I think in this episode we've done some plot, some side quests, some world building.
Some thinking.
I think we're going to talk a little bit about, the back half of the last episode, we talked about some kind of meta issues and meta concepts with Planescape Torment. And I think we'll probably start with that. But, Danny, what has happened in this game so far?
I gotta get a little bit more abbreviated each time. You're a Nameless One. You're a Zombo. You don't know who you are. You're trying to figure out who you are. You kind of woke up in a weird place and you figured out because of a real memento situation tattoo on your back. You got to find this person named Farad. We did a lot of venturing. We found Farad at the bottom of the trash heap. Farad made us get a thing, and we went and got the thing that we needed to get. Then Farad is like, hey, my daughter will help figure out your origin story. She's the one that found your corpse last, because we just keep dying and we can't remember. And that's kind of where we begin.
You've been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. You've been stupefied.
Really, truly owned.
Yeah. So her name is Anna.
Mm-hmm.
And we get her as like a party member here. Farad says, here's my daughter.
Who's a tiefling, I believe.
Who's a tiefling, yeah, and who has like a thick, like an Irish brogue.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a pretty weird. I don't know. I think that's a weird choice. He didn't have an accent of any sort. And
was he voice acted?
He wasn't.
I think that canonically Farad is Irish.
But her sentences are written out in such a way that you could, if you read them out loud, you would get an Irish accent. For him, there's none of that. Did you talk? Have you talked with her yet?
Yeah.
Like, had a conversation? What was your conversation with her?
Ooh. It's interesting. So I immediately talked to her when the chapter began, or when our session began, and I asked her, hey, where did you find my body? And she said, yeah, I found it in this really weird place. It's this weird place where, like, people hear all these, like, ooh, these spooky moaning sounds. And they think it's ghosts, but they're dumb. They're dumb. They aren't ghosts at all. It's just the wind blowing through shit. Because, of course, in this world we live in with fantastical, floating people with hammers or endlessly repairing things, and a lady of pain, and just like walls that talk to you. Of course there can't be ghosts. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that the attachment to like serious realism. This character is a magical demon person with wings.
Yeah.
So
one of your friends at the point she joins you is just a horny skull that floats around.
Yeah, and but ghosts, that's a bridge too far.
That's a bridge too far. That's the root of all problems in Planescape.
Just like the real world.
Problems, just like the real world. But yeah, so I talked to her about that, and then I got the feeling, I'm like, ooh, my skull tingles. Have you noticed every time somebody lies to you, your skull tingles, just like in real life?
Is that true? Does that actually? I mean, I guess that's true. I have not noticed that, but I believe you.
Okay. I was like, ooh, something's wrong about your story. You're like, what were you doing in this weird alleyway that no one goes to? And she was like, oh, well, all the corpses are, spoken for in other places, because she, following in the footsteps of her father, is also a person that grabs up corpses and sends them into this kind of gray economy. And you get the feeling, oh, she's not telling the truth, but she doesn't even know she's lying. She doesn't really even know why she was there. Plot twist. So that's when I talked to her. That's what I got.
You didn't ask her anything about Farad?
No, I didn't ask anything about Farad.
If you ask her about Farad, you get this long conversation that I'm assuming can pay off at some point. I have not attempted to pay it off, but I just think it's really weird, which is why I bring it up. You're like, hey, the way the conversation goes is this. You say, hey, isn't it weird that when Farad left earlier, he was gone for just a second and then he came back and he had a bunch of stuff for me?
Oh, yeah. We did talk about, like, it wasn't necessarily about Farad. It was like where I was asking her, hey, did I have anything on my body when you picked me up? And she gave me, like, a ring.
Yeah.
And it's a magical ring. I haven't identified it. And I was like, well, what about anything else? And she was like, well, Farad might have kept some other things. And I was like, well, where do you reckon he keeps those things? Because we're still looking for our journal.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you have this kind of like, you can get there from two different points, conversation points. But yeah, eventually she's like, the two of you together are like, well, he does have one, like a leg that doesn't work as well as the other leg. So he couldn't have gone too far. So what if his staff is a portal key that like takes you to a pocket plane? And she's like, huh, wouldn't that be weird? And you're like, yeah, that'd be weird. And then the conversation is done. So I'm
also, I
you
think
can
at some point she says it's just an act. He doesn't actually have trouble getting around.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, tricky. A thief, as it were.
Oh my.
Yeah, this is not Farad and Progeny. This is Mages and Murderdads.
No, that's the last we'll ever hear of Farad. I'm sure, right?
No, it won't, because we're going to talk about Farad again in a minute. But, but yeah, so the very first episode, I went into a place called the Smoldering Corpse Bar.
Yeah.
And you did not.
I didn't.
But in this episode, you did.
In this episode, we did. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what the Smoldering Corpse Bar is?
I just want to hear your impressions. I think this is one of the coolest, let me better to phrase it this way. This is one of the most memorable and like kind of fan-loved areas in Planescape Torment. This is the Friendly Arm Inn. This is the Copper Coronet for this game, right?
Yeah. I kind of want to hear your initial impression, because I have a very, like, I complete a quest immediately when I go in here.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't complete any quests.
Yeah, so you tell me, like, your first impression, because I do something that fundamentally changes the way this bar works, I think.
Yeah, so you go in here, and there's, like, a big spinning corpse on fire in the middle of it. And it's called the Smoldering Corpse Bar. And you can, like, talk to someone who's there, who's basically like a hostess. And you can be like...
And her name's Drusilla, I think?
Sure, I believe you.
Yeah.
Her name is Drusilla, I guess. And, yeah, you're like, what the hell's going on with that? And she's like, well, that's a wizard. And his name is Ignis. And he pissed a bunch of people off. And so they turned his body into a portal to the elemental plane of fire. And they thought it would kill him, but it didn't. And that's it.
And he's just like eternally burning.
Yeah. Like writhing in pain in the middle of this inn. And he's just kind of like a conversation piece. He's like, if it were called the Rusty Sword,
there'd be a rusty sword in the middle.
Above the bar or something. Or if it were called the Patchwork Minotaur, there might be a quilt with a big Minotaur, on the floor, something like that. But yeah, so it's just there, and there are all these pockets of people or beings, I guess I should say around. There's like a thief who's trying to navigate their way around the hive, who's kind of new there. There are a couple demons from the Blood War. We're going to hear more about the Blood War later in this game, so I don't want to talk about too much. But they're like demons who are AFK from battle, as it were. And then there are like some other people who are like adventurers in the plains, basically. They're people who have like rolled around enough that they're, a level 10 fighter, and they go around to different places and kick ass. Like, these are kind of people who, you remember all the way back in episode 1 where you talked to that woman who like walked through a gateway and ended up in Sigil?
Yes.
Like, a lot of these people are people who did that and then made the best of it, or were able to do that a little bit more intentionally.
Really pulled themselves up by their bootstraps in this
Or just like
world.
had a sword and they weren't a level 1 dirt farmer when they went through the portal.
It's really important to be qualified when you're chosen by Sigil.
You want martial weapons.
Mm-hmm.
just basically.
Exotic weapons wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't. Yeah, you want anything other than like improvised weapon. But see, there's that. This is where we meet Dakin, who is like the Githyanki or Githrazai. I don't remember. He's one of the Gith. He is a Gith, and he's like a party member now for me. But this is a place where you can pick him up. So yeah, it's just like this kind of intermingling. You can spend a lot of time having a lot of different conversations in this bar.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So I went in the bar the very first time after all of our experiences, like going to Ragpicker Square, having to go through the catacombs in order to retrieve the bronze sphere. Remember that? Like that's the little MacGuffin that Farid wanted us to get in order to like continue, right? Anyway, while you're down in the catacombs, there was this little side quest with Gil, I think, the creature, like the wall, the animated wall, or like the kind of statue in the wall that was made to like continuously spew sewage water out of his mouth.
There's more to that quest?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Because when you get the decanter, and you use it on him, which I think we both said, oh, we may have like forgotten to actually like completely finish the quest. You can ask him, hey, what's the deal with this decanter? And he tells you, yeah, you can unlock its full potential by going to this woman named Namil in the Cleric District.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember him saying that like the real payoff for the quest would be changing the decanter.
Yeah. And anyway, at the end of, and we're kind of going in backwards, but at the end of this section, you that we're about to play, you unlock being able to get to the cleric area. So when I get to the cleric, when I like get to that point, I immediately go to the cleric area and find Namil, who is very cool. I get like an elf-like vibe with her, but she speaks in the third person, and then she'll say things like, oh, she doesn't say I whisper, but she'll say something like, she whispers into your ear the secret. And then there's a flash in your mind of her doing that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it was just, like, it's so interesting, like, how creative the writers of this game get with this format. With this little, the little text, and that's how you communicate, and that's how you engage in quests, and that's like the narrative section of this game is all interacting with just like you reading text and hitting little dialogue options, right? But very creative stuff. So anyway, you when you talk to Namil, you can ask, hey, what's the deal with this decanter? And Namil will like give you this weird elven type word that you can say to unlock the decanter. So then I went to the Smoldering Corpse Bar because you told me to, and I went up to Ignis, and it was like, hey, dump this decanter on him.
Oh, because the decanter is like connected to the elemental
plane of water.
Okay, I remember that initially because it's pure water.
So I like I open up the decanter and start pouring it, and it bursts into shards, and there's this horrible sound, and my ears start bleeding, and I because of like the sound of an infinite amount of water hitting an infinite amount of fire, like that's what it sounds like. And then everything goes quiet, and like the burning corpse is still there, but then he speaks to me, and it's Ignis. And Ignis says, I'm forever in your debt. We're dying together, buddy. And he joins my party.
What?
Yes.
He becomes a party member?
Yes.
Man, people hate that dude. Like, he pissed a lot of people off. I think he was evil, at least according to, like, the stories.
Apparently.
Although there are multiple stories you can hear. You can talk to, I forget the person's name, but they're in, like, the far left of the bar. And if you already know the official story from the kind of introductory person, then you can talk to him, and he's like, oh yeah, actually that story is more complicated, and he like gives you additional information. And now that I think about it, it does sound a lot like the story that the face in the wall gave you to. It's a very similar, like, people in power versus people who aren't in power, but they're all wizards and shit, so then therefore
Yeah.
so I wonder if they're related.
But anyway, that's right when I stopped. Is like I knew I needed to go to the Smoldering Bar and like do a quest to talk about, but I don't know. They'll have to rename themselves.
We ain't got a corpse bar. They're probably pissed off. You didn't talk to anyone?
I did. Well, no, I went to talk to Drusilla. And immediately Ignis goes to embrace her, and she embraces him back, and is just consumed by fire and dies.
He might be bad. Have you thought that he might be evil?
I think that Drusilla was in love with Ignis. I think that they were, because in a previous load, like I broke this quest the first time I tried it, and I talked to Drusilla the first time, and she's like, "Please save him." So I don't know. It may have been consensual.
Consensual murder. Consumption through flame.
Sure.
Well, murder does have some implications.
Yeah.
As a term.
Yeah. We should know. It's right in the title.
It's right. Well, just dads. Speaking of dads, if you didn't go see you didn't watch our God of War preview from last week, that is available. That'll be linked at the end of this video, I'm sure.
Good.
You should go check that out. What else did you do?
Well, I went back and reunited Namil with kind of like her little quest. Like it's a very like classic World of Warcraft. Gets sent to a person to end a quest. That person begins a mini quest, right? And Namil was looking for Aelwyn, which the relationship between the two is ambiguous, but they appear to be like kin somehow. They both seem like super long-lived. Aelwyn does not speak in this third person. Aelwyn just kind of speaks in the first person, and Aelwyn says, hey, you've reunited me with Namil. We've been looking for each other, and you like told us how to find each other. So let me give you a scoop. I've met you like a couple times. The most recent time wasn't long ago, only 50 years ago.
Only 50 years ago.
Only 50 years ago. The first time was like 250 years ago. And you were kind of courting me back then. Oh. But before we got together, you died. Like you got murdered. And then 50 years ago, we met again, and you were like really pissed at me, and you started to choke me to death. So I controlled your mind and made you jump out of a window, and you died.
Really?
Really? Isn't it weird how, like, the routine conversations you have are, like, the wildest shit we ever heard in Baldur's Gate?
I mean, that is true, right? I mean, I think that's the... But yeah, it's just absolutely, like, the most bonkers thing that could happen in just a tabletop D&D setting, right? Where, like, no one has prepared anything, but you've been looking through the monster manual, and you're like, God, I just want to... There's a beast made of tentacles and beaks. I gotta get that in my damn game. What if it, like, ran a store? And that's Planescape Torment.
Yeah, I think Planescape Torment is... It's like the dungeon... Like the DMG, when you could roll D100 for, like, oh, who's the shopkeeper? And it's always 99.
Yeah.
It's like you don't roll, you just look and you choose the wildest thing on there.
It's a man made of pure energy, and he is welded via a mind link to, I don't know, 12 bricks with runes carved in them.
And what does he sell? Let me consult that chart. Oh, the souls of Goblin Kings.
And they're from everywhere. Excuse me, DM. Where does he get them all? Sigil. You're in Sigil. Luckily, everywhere connects to here.
Literally all narrative roads lead to Sigil.
Yeah. But yeah, like the ceiling for creativity is much higher in Planescape because it can just be whatever bonkers thing that writer came up with.
Exactly.
And like, we see the other end of that too. In just a minute, we'll talk about it. But in the Tenement of Thugs, there's like a blind character named Tiresias.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like, as far as I'm concerned, the bottom of the barrel when it comes to like creative illusion. Which is fine. Like the bottom of the barrel is it's dependable. It's always there. It works. Like
Sure.
It's not a critique. But you know, a man hugged someone and they burst into flame. That's cool.
Yeah.
But anyway. All right. Speaking of this, did you see the tweets from Josh Sawyer this week?
I did not.
Well, basically, you said that computer RPGs and RPGs in general could be a lot more interesting and do a lot more things if the audience were more accepting of non-traditional or non-classical ideals in these games. So,
What do you think what do you think he's engaging with there? Like, what would be an example of something that the audience isn't ready for?
well, in the thread, he specifically called out stuff like Fiasco and Dogs in the Vineyard. Is the name of that game? I think that's a Vincent Baker.
Vincent
game, I think?
Baker, yeah.
Yeah. But these like taking the ideals behind RPGs and then putting them in other genres and then using that to influence the thing that exists already.
Yeah.
One could maybe think that, I mean, you know, if you read Jason Schreier's Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, there's a chapter about Pillars of Eternity, and it seems like the creative team was really mournful and sad that they promised backers of that game that they were going to make 2 big hubs, because they made one hub that was narratively sufficient and full and robust, and they just kind of had to tack an additional one on there. It's like the Elven City.
And they kind of felt like they weren't doing this because it added to the game. They were doing this because of just the expectations of fans of the genre.
Yeah, the game did not need it. The backers needed it. And I understand. I would never be critical of that kind of decision. Like, once you go down the crowdfunding road, you have made choices about what kind of creative control you're going to, cede to your audience. And, those people are backing it because they wanted a bigger, better Baldur's Gate, basically, right? And they kind of got one. I've been playing through that game. It is cool, but all of that is to say that there are people who are making these kind of throwback games who are really thinking about the bounds of the genre and the mechanical heart of these games. So maybe we'll get some zany stuff later, too.
Yeah, I'm interested in... And no spoilies, because I know you've played it. I'm interested to see how some of the promises of this game get paid off in the Tides of Numenera.
Yeah, I think I think you will be pleasantly surprised in some ways, and kind of like weirdly disappointed in others.
Okay.
Which is maybe all games. That is a wide enough descriptor, but yeah, it's a cool game. I think it's a game worth playing. I'm going to be very excited to talk through it. There are some cool characters in it for sure.
So we both kind of. So what was did you do like a little side quest in the Smoldering Corpse Bar?
I did not in the Smoldering Corpse Bar. I did go to the Tattoo Parlor. Have you been there yet?
Ooh, which zone is that in?
That's in the same zone as the Corpse Bar. It's like all the way to the right side of the screen.
It's in the southeast corner of the Hive, I think.
Yes, correct. You didn't do that?
I did not.
It is cool. So you go in there, and I just went in because it was a tattoo parlor. There's a Dabus in there, right?
Yeah, we remember these fellas. They're constantly repairing and reorganizing the city. They're tearing it down. They're building it up. They're making it perfect.
They're kind of like the servants of the Lady of Pain, right? They kind of
Yeah.
serve at her will and whim. Anyway, so you go in there and there's Davis there. He's hanging out, and it's unsettling. Like, you get this kind of narrative exposition that says, like, it's unsettling to look at this Davis, and you can't quite figure out why. And then as you're looking at him, you realize that his feet are on the ground. He is not floating around like the other Davis are doing.
Ooh, wrong.
Did you say wrong?
Wrong. Bad.
Wrong. Yeah. So he, they only talk in sigils. Right, that kind of float above their heads. So there is, I think it's like a white, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like I believe like a white sigil with like a black thunderbolt through it. And you can either translate yourself or you can ask a party member to translate. I got Dakin or Dakan. I need to figure out how you say this guy's name, but
Sure.
I got him to translate for me just because. But even before I could do that, so Anna, and I'm really glad I waited to come to here when I had her, as opposed to coming here earlier, because she's like, "Oh shit, that's Fel. We have to leave."
Oh shit,
like,
that's Fel.
Yeah, and I'm like, I knew this was Fel's tattoo parlor based on the map, right? But beyond that, I didn't know anything. And she's like, yeah, we have to get out of here. He's cursed. And, you can kind of get why he would be cursed or what that he doesn't float, right? So something weird is going on with this dude. And she's like, yes, the Lady of Pain pays attention to this guy, and no one wants the Lady of Pain to pay attention to them. That is bad. So we need to get out of here so we don't become embroiled in his stuff. And so, of course, I became embroiled in his stuff.
Immediately embroiled.
I am in there. I'm in the pot with Fel. And the basic... So the initial thing I do with him is I just talk with him, and I find out that you can talk to him and buy tattoos. He's like he's a legit tattoo artist. And they're stat boosts. So you can get, like, they all have, particular names, but it's like the Tattoo of Fortitude, and it's +1 strength.
Huh.
Yeah, and you pay money for it, and it just goes on you. And I'm assuming you can only have a couple at a time or something like that. And so those are cool. Those are interesting. But what's really cool is that each of your party members also has a particular tattoo that is dedicated to them. So you can get the Tattoo of the Skull. That is a tattoo of Mort. So literally, you're going to get a tattoo of Mort on you, and the Mort one gives you like increased charisma and some other stuff, and the tattoo of Anna gives you better thieving skills, things like that.
It's showing your dedication to that person.
Yeah, you're like learning a little bit from them, and because all this like magic weirdness to it, right? You're literally. Maybe Fel, this is not explicitly told or anything like that, but what I took from it is that Fel can look at someone and then kind of boil them down to an essence and then imbue that essence onto something else. But here's so that is cool, right? By itself. That is cool.
Although I have to wonder, is it kind of the reason why you get those skills when you get a tattoo? It's like, if you get drunk, and you get a tattoo of William Henry Harrison, like right on your ass, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's so expensive to get that removed. I feel like the first thing you're going to do is do a lot of research about William Henry Harrison, right? You're going to learn everying he's ever known, right?
So hold on really quickly. So
you're pot committed, as it were.
In your example, you are shit-faced blind drunk.
Yeah.
And you determine... I'm going to get a tattoo of William Henry Harrison, but before I get there, I'm going to read the Wikipedia page, is what you're telling me?
No, it's after you wake up and it's already there. You're like, I need to do some research on William Henry Harrison now.
I see. So you're already committed to it.
Yeah, you're committed. You're in there.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that checks out. So maybe that's it. I don't know. But that's cool by itself. That's not the coolest thing about Fel and the tattoo.
Oh, okay.
So you can say, hey, will you please read my tattoos? Because, your body is all scarred up and you got tattoos all over you and stuff like that.
You do some tattoo interpretation here.
exactly. And so he reads the one on your back, right? The one that Mort read you in the beginning and didn't read the don't trust the skull part, all of that. And he was like, yeah, it's just words on your back. Don't worry about it. He says, but the one interesting tattoo on your body is on your shoulder. And you have a tattoo called that represents, it's like, I guess, a symbol for torment. Like the word and concept of torment. And he says that tattoo is the reason that people who have trauma in their lives, or people who are lost, or people who are in pain, that's the reason that they gravitate toward you, the Nameless One, is because you have taken into your body and onto your body in the same way that those other tattoos of those people take on characteristics of those people and kind of imprint them into you, that torment as a concept is written into your body now. And that's why this like narrative universe builds around you, is because of what you've put on yourself.
We are just a nexus of pain.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty cool conceptual storytelling. But I'll do you one better.
Okay.
So he's like, yeah, and we've met a million times. Like, I know you. And he actually, to be clear, he actually kind of leads with that. He's like, yeah, okay. I know you. I've seen you die a bunch of times. I've seen your corpse. I've seen you, like, completely perish. Not just die in the way we do in this game where we, like, end up in the mortuary. But, like, die.
Get annihilated.
Yes. And he's like, yeah, everything I know about tattoos I've learned from you by studying your skin.
Whoa.
Yeah, and you can be like, well, what's behind that curtain back there, Fel? And he's like, yeah, that's where the skins are. And so you can click on the curtain and go down this pathway, and there's just like a huge array. There's probably like 8 of them, of giant stretched human skins that are former versions of you. The skins of former versions of you.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. You should go look at it. It's pretty good.
Oh, rad. So you can see your former skins.
Yes, which really like puts some context. I mean, we've already gotten a lot of this information in various ways, but there in this game so far, one could assume that when you are dying and coming back, that you're the same person in the same body.
Mm-hmm.
I think this implies, and as well as like that stuff that we learned in that tomb.
Sure.
That is not the case. Like you...
It's not necessarily the case that there are types of death that we can die where we are obliterated and somehow we get reformed.
Exactly. Like, yeah, there's permadeath, and yet, you were reincarnated or something like that. Kind of hand-wavy of it. But yeah. It's just very cool, I think.
No, that's interesting.
But that's the only side questy thing I did.
Okay.
It really wasn't a side quest, just a long conversation.
That's pretty good, though.
It is really good. And I would suggest going looking at those tattoos. They're very affordable, and they are decent stat boosts.
Did you get a wisdom one?
I tried to, and it wouldn't let me buy one. I couldn't quite figure out why.
Ooh, I bet it only lets you buy some for like stats under a certain level.
That could be it. That could be it. Because I am maxed out on wisdom.
That would be how I would design it, at least.
Yeah.
Interesting, though. So shall we get to like the actual plot of this episode?
Well, I want to ask one more question, or not a question, but just to put something forward, because I don't think there's a good answer to it yet, but it does come up again later, and it's worth just putting out there. That multiple times in this episode, the phrase "what can change the nature of a man" has showed up. Like, did you see that appear?
Oh, I have, but once, but I don't remember at what point.
Fel said it to me, and then I was talking to someone in the
Anna
dust bar.
Talk about it?
I don't know. One of the dustmen. I went back to try to join the dustmen faction.
Oh, yeah.
And I just didn't do the side quest yet, so I haven't joined them. But when I was talking to the person about it, like, he kind of went stone solid, and I could hear all these different, like, a polyphony of voices coming out of his face. Like, time was stopped, and, like, all these souls were talking out of him. It was very descriptive. And one of the snippets of dialogue of that is, what can change the nature of a man? Yeah. So, just to put that out there, that is something in the mix that is showing up in more than one place, and it's happening all the way, at this point in the game.
Which it makes sense for that to be a theme because we start the game tabula rasa, but with this unknown to us history that everyone else around us knows. Yeah. And it seems as though our fate is kind of written in the stars that certain people in the world are privy to, but we are not. Mm-hmm. And there's this idea that we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of our past, and that we have done that before and we shall do it again. So, I mean, it makes sense to me that that's a live question here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what does change, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like what can change is the thing that gets focused on, or is easy to focus on that question, but the question of what change itself is, right?
Yeah.
Not just what can do the changing, but what does change mean, right? Is it just arbitrary decisions? Is it the kind of impact you have on the world? That kind of thing. Anyway, It'll come up again. Yeah, so tell us about the plot, the real game.
I mean, basically, all we're doing is Anna is taking us to where she found us.
Yep.
Because she was the one, it is revealed, that discovered our corpse.
Yep.
And I don't know, I didn't find this super engaging, like getting there. Did you?
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if I found it super engaging. I mean, that the Tiresias thing happens in the middle. So I don't... Yeah, you go through two different places. Well, you go through one place. Did you pay attention to how you found that door to the alley?
Yes, it's some real painted world shit.
It is painted world shit. Miyazaki! Tormenting me again. That's how I got the idea.
Yeah, so, we are... we're not drawn into a painting, per se, but the door is obfuscated by a painting of some sort.
Yeah, it's like painted all over.
There's kind of an illusory door there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
And it's only when you take a leap of faith and reach out that you actually engage the door and you arrive on the other side. There's kind of a cult of there's kind of a dog themed cult or group that's active here.
Yeah, could you figure them out?
No, I just ran from them. They were dangerous.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, they're called the Screaming Dogs or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just ran through that big group of them. Did you talk to that woman before you ran through them?
Yeah, unfortunately. I said, hey, what's the deal? And she's like, oh, it's dangerous in there. Watch out. And so I had to go upstairs to get the key, obviously, and then I got the key, and I was like, ooh, Anna can go stealth.
Mm-hmm.
So I had her go stealth, and I opened the door, and those people came through the door and then killed that woman who was just waiting outside. And then I just had Anna go through and exit. Only that you do not have to gather your party before venturing forth in this game.
Yeah, at least not here.
Yeah, at least not here.
It's very funny that you did the alternate route, but did not read the dialogue box to tell you what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked to that woman. She says, hey, look, check it out. There's a bunch of cultists in there, and they're all doing cult shit or whatever.
Yeah,
and
there's a big gathering. There's a dozen of them.
Yeah, exactly. And there could be more, there could be less. She's not quite sure. And you can go upstairs to find, these leaders, and they have a key. And if you go through the, I guess it would be southeast door, instead of the southwest door, then you can go around to another door in the south of the room, away from the cultists, and you can go out the exit that way. That's what the key is for.
Ooh.
Is to go through a second entrance. So you did all the additional alternate route work just to go through the same room.
And kill that poor woman.
But here's the thing. I did the same thing. And I read the dialogue box. So like I fought my way up to the the dudes at the top, and there was like a wizard there, and he killed me one time, and I was like, screw it, I'll just run through there.
Yeah.
Like my guy can resurrect people from death. It can't be that bad. And so we like ran through and got all jammed up, but one person made it through. So I resurrected everybody, and then we made it through. But yeah, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. What we talked about kind of toward the end of the last episode was how the writing and the kind of top level design of this game is awesome.
Yes.
Like how all those pieces fit together. The moment to moment gameplay is bad.
Yeah. The fighting is brutal.
It's so bad. And the combat AI just doesn't work. Like it just like oftentimes I will see my people kill another creature and just stand there.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't auto sequence into the next creature. They just stand.
No.
And wait for the one-on-one combat to finish. I have 4 party members.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this is just another moment of like, oh gosh, like maybe there was a way, maybe I could have talked my way through it. I don't know. Maybe I goofed it up somehow, but yeah, they just gave me the option.
Every time I get into combat, I'm just like filled with regret. and just like there has to be a way to avoid this fight, right? That's the only thing I can think of as it happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was in this case. You just were not paying close enough attention.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, the way that you could avoid this fight is not an interesting one in any way, right?
Yeah.
Go do another fight.
Yeah.
To them.
With a very dangerous like sorcerer person.
Yeah, he killed me, and the cultist didn't kill me. So there you go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I wish, I would love that if the enhanced edition had something that was like the good edit, which is just like it just cuts out the tenement of thugs because there's nothing here, right?
No, it's time to spend before you get to the next area, right?
Yeah, and I guess that does exist. Like we could take this down to story difficulty or whatever, and we probably have a better time.
I might do that if I can like find that in the options, right?
Yeah, it's just in the normal. It's in the options like it is in the other enhanced editions. I might do that too. Like I just don't. The combat adds 0 to this game. It hurts this game in a significant way, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk about it. But I think that might be worth it.
So yeah, it basically go through the tenement of thugs, avoid these dog cultists, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get to the alleyway, like the wailing alleyway.
The alley of lingering sighs. I think you mean.
Sometimes you wail, sometimes you sigh in a lingering fashion.
Oh yes, my favorite U2 song.
Is that the full title?
Yeah, that's the full title. But yeah, so you get here and Anna's like, yeah, this is it. This is where it happened. Mm-hmm. Wait, is that what happened? No, that's not what happens. It's in the next screen, right? My bad.
Yeah, it's the next screen. We've got to go. There is an actual alleyway, and there's a Davis here just knocking away at a wall. And in the south, there is a house. And if you go in the house, you'll find a dead Davis.
Yes.
With a hammer, like the Davis's hammer, just chilling out. And there's no like immediate cause of death that you can see. But you can use your speak to corpses spell that you get as a special nameless one. And basically what you see the last moments of this thing's life was it was trying to like claw its way out, but it couldn't. Like it went in this home and the home like suffocated it basically.
Yeah, it goes inside and the door disappears.
Yeah.
And since it's just a Davis and all it does is repair things, it just kind of wandered around and like tried to repair things until it died. Mm-hmm. Why did that happen?
Well, we find out when we get to the next screen, because we get to the next screen and lo and behold, the true progenitors of the universe, faces and walls, There's one that's like, hey, I'll let you through. I will act as an actual doorway. But you got to help me out. Because it wants to divide. It wants to expand. It wants to create a new one. Which I think one of the characters in the game is like, is it pregnant? Like, that's the word that they use.
Yes. Anna says that it's in a way.
It's in a way, yeah.
It's in a way, yeah, which is, a euphemism for being pregnant. Yeah, so it says, she's like, yeah, it's pregnant. And the reason that it can't divide is that the Davis in the other screen keeps repairing it.
Yeah.
And keeping it, and like basically like sewing it closed repeatedly when it's trying to like crumble apart in different ways.
Exactly.
And so yes, you go back and you need a hammer and a pry bar.
Already got the pry bar. Never dropping that.
No. That thing is...
God, if you had dropped that, have you just quit the game now?
What?
If you didn't have that pry bar, is that it? Is the game over?
I don't know. I mean, I assume that you can find one.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you got to be able to find one here, right? But I kind of looked around, and I didn't find one. I didn't know where it was. It could be in the screen, and like it was tab hidden, and I didn't see it. But I did not find one around, which is really weird. But maybe the game knows if you have one already.
Maybe
yeah. Checks your
maybe
inventory.
there's a flag, and it would help you out. So basically, you have to. It's like you need to take care of the Davis. Which one way you can take care of the Davis is just be like, hey, you might want to check out that house.
I'm gone.
Yes. Well, that's really funny. I didn't get that option.
Oh, did you go in the house?
I'd already gone in the house one time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember why. But so I tried to talk to... Anyway, point being is I tried to talk to the Davis. It was like, I have no time to talk to you. Like, it didn't even let me get into a dialogue box. It gave me, like, like an NPC, like a civilian in Baldur's Gate, like one line above its head kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really weird. So I was like, well, I guess I got to kill this thing. And I slew that Davis.
Dang, I sent him to the monster house.
Well, the monster house is just the alleyway killing it, right?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
the alleyway, like like its force on that house.
So absolving you of sin.
Yeah, I didn't have to do it.
Yeah, so I went and I think nailed some boards together, and I pried some other boards apart. They're like places in the map that it encouraged you to go use your tools in. And so then I went over to the back to the alleyway. I was like, hey, I did all this work. Go hog wild.
Yeah.
And then it does.
And it does. It goes hog wild, and a door is created.
Well, did you watch the cutscene?
Yes.
It literally is birthing this next district out of itself, which really throws.
It's the passageway to the district, right?
No, it is not. If you watch that cutscene again, what is happening is there are towers that do not exist are being bloomed and blossomed out of the ground, out of rubble. It is not opening up. Maybe it does open a passageway, but what is being depicted in that thing, in that cutscene, is something else.
Well, what about, are all the people there? Are they brand new? Did they just get there?
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know. I don't. but that's why I think it throws a lot of things into question or I don't know. It's making a weird argument here, right? Kind of related to what we were saying about the Ragpicker Square and the levels of the city.
Yeah.
That Sigil might have multiple existing places that occupy the same space and just not the same time or the same consciousness at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Tesseract style or alternate
We may have
reality
just
style.
tapped into a different facet of Sigil.
Exactly. That was already there. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. That cutscene is weird.
Okay, I need to take a look at it then.
Yeah, it is.
I think that a lot of my preconceptions about what was supposed to happen colored my perception of that video.
Well, yeah. What it tells you beforehand and what it implies afterward is those match up. What happens in the cutscene does not. Mm-hmm. which is just interesting. But also, the first time that we come here before we talk to the alleyway, also, by the way, just a living alleyway. We didn't really pause on that.
Yeah, it's like we it's been normalized. This is Stein's, America, and now sentient alleyways are just normalized, and we don't bat an eye.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a very much a Danny the Street from Doom Patrol situation. You might not get that reference, but someone will, and it's good. But yeah, so this happens. But the first time that we come in, before we talk to it, Anna's like, here's the place where I found you. And then you like go stand there and you have like a flashback of what happened right before you died. Mm-hmm. And it's a bunch of those shadows coming for you.
Wailing at you.
Wailing on you, just beating the hell out of you.
And was this before or after we saw a cutscene with Farid?
This is after, yeah. So what we forgot to say earlier is that when we went into the painted door, to get to the tenement of thugs, we also saw a cutscene there where it was Farid getting surrounded by those same enemies. These are the same enemies that we saw all the way back in episode 1, surrounding the what do you call it? The slab that we woke up on at the very beginning of the game, and that we saw also in the tomb after we left the tomb. Mm-hmm. So, all coming back around.
This is going to be interesting.
So,
right no, we have talked about Farid the last time.
Yeah. Well, we
He's
talked
dead.
about Farid, but not... Well, yes, he is dead.
He's dead,
Yeah,
canonically.
Yeah. Well, I haven't gone back to check. Did you go back to check?
No.
Well, who knows?
We don't need to. He's dead.
We open the alley, or whatever. Yeah. We go to this new area. So this is the cleric region?
Two separate areas.
Okay. Anyway, so we go in here, and as soon as we get here, someone comes up, and they're like trying to sell us some clothes.
The classic distract you as a clothes merchant game.
The Danny Ocean, as it were. The Bernie Mac, as it were. The Brad Pitt in that movie. That we could call it. But yeah, so one guy comes up, tries to sell you clothes. Two were-rats begin having a very loud conversation about who to kidnap. and then they run up, they grab the skull, and then they run off screen.
Yeah.
And then we never saw that skull again.
Man, that's dramatic.
I know. So Mort is kidnapped.
I don't know how much energy I'm going to spend to get Mort back.
Don't trust the skull.
Don't trust the skull.
Don't trust the skull. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably do it, but yeah. I'm over his shtick at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shall see.
We'll find out. Okay, well, that is it for episode 47. Tune in 2 weeks for episode 48. Got a lot of interesting stuff happening in the meantime. I think I'm just going to dump all of the Dark Souls 3 videos up on YouTube.
Dump them.
Danny played through all of Dark Souls 3 on Twitch. And we're going to make a playlist of that on YouTube if you're interested in that. That'll be going up pretty soon. You should check out our Patreon. Link is down in the description below, but you should check out the Patreon because we're going to have a very special live episode of the Patreon podcast coming. We're going to be recording that this weekend. And all kinds of other delicious stuff. Go check out that Patreon. You can come hang out in our Discord, and that is down in the description below. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/rangetouch. What else? Oh, on Twitch, twitch.tv/rangetouch.
God, we need to consolidate.
We have consolidated.
No, we need to just have one thing. We just need to have one super medium. We need to invent it. That's our startup.
We have purchased CNN. Maybe we shouldn't have waited to the very end.
To the very end. Yeah, we own CNN now. This is Range Touch.
Yeah, we're working on it. But you can see where we're going. You can see the ideas coming.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's this episode.
That's the episode. Join us next time for, God forbid, truly, episode 48.
Content.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.